I like to collect video games. It's one of my deepest addictions that I have in my head. Trying to collect games I want and have a little game center in my own room. Turning on the console to down and play Super Smash Bros.
A lot of people like to prefer playing on a computer nowadays.
It's easier to play a keyboard and a mouse than on a controller for a few games, mainly first-person shooters. While freshman in high school, I was discovering that you can build a PC and got me very interested in doing so. The thing that got me building in the PCs is the net play with Super Smash Bros. Melee, and I don't want to mention this, that what made me want to build a computer. Then I did, and I enjoyed it ever since. There is a bit of a debate between console gaming and PC gaming. A lot of times people say consoles and the others say it's PC. Yes, they have their own differences, but does it really matter? That's why I'm about to build another PC with pretty high specs. When it comes to buying a computer, the average consumer usually buys it off the shelf on an electronics store or Walmart. Then all they have to do is just plug in all the components like the power, monitor, keyboards, mouse, and they're just ready to go. Others like to get a laptop so they can use it on the go. Just turn it on and bam, ready to go. And then there's those hardcore people who build a computer themselves. PC building has been a big thing for the past decade. Even the tech YouTubers will always say build a PC is the way to go today. The good thing about building a PC is that you can choose whatever components you desire, whether it's the simple internet browsing, gaming, or even professional applications like video editing / animation. So this is basically what you need for a computer: the processor, motherboard, RAM, power supply, hard drive, case, and video card. The reason why I left this one for last is that if you're building a PC to browse the internet, then you don't really need this. All of these you can purchase in like Amazon or some other tech stores that you're familiar with. Let's talk about the parts. The processors is the brain of the build. Certain processors are made for certain tasks. The main ones are usually labeled by number from 3 to 5 and 7. 3 is for the casuals like internet browsing or office use. 5 is for gaming, photography, or Photoshop. And 7 is for professional use like editing, animations, and graphic design. They do have a 9, which is the high end if you want more power to your programs. Why do I have it? Redundancy? The low and mid-end processors usually come with a fan cooler. Since mine didn't, I went to get an aftermarket one. You do have the option to have air cooling or liquid cooling to your CPU. I'm fine with this, but I do plan on getting a liquid cooler eventually. A lot of people go overboard with this liquid cooling. Yes, it's pretty, but is it necessary? When looking for a motherboard, you gotta know what slots you need. Or processor chips you're using. Do you want 4 slots for your RAM? Do you need more slots for expandability? Do you need more fan slots? Try to have a motherboard that's compatible with your components, whether it's the chipset, DDR for RAM, and those stuff. RAM is, I guess you call, the assistant to the processor. It helps transfer data back and forth, especially with the video editing or 3D rendering. The minimum requirement is to have 8 GB, but I have 16 GB for editing use. For the types of motherboard, you need the same type of case. The micro ATX are usually the common ones. Again, it's for what parts you have. Small, comfortable, normal, big. Jesus! I have a mid-tower case with all of these fancy lights. It's irrelevant. I usually only want to have a specific color combination, but I guess this will do. Hard drives simply depend on how much space you need. I usually buy a solid-state drive to make a boot drive and makes it easier to transfer stuff to the actual hard drive. But for this, I have a terabyte solid-state drive. Why? Because I got money. The graphics card is the card you use for the, well, graphics. It's mainly meant for gaming, graphic designing, and many more. Do you want more frames? Do you want 1080p? Do you want 1440p? Do you want 4K? Is my wallet empty yet? So this is a requirement if you're going to use those things. The power supply is how much power you need coming from the motherboard, processor, graphics card, the fans, hard drive, pretty much everything at this point. The graphics card consumes a majority of it, so it's nice to have a power supply around 600 to 700 watts and make sure it's 80 plus certified. The steps are really simple, but it can take some time. If you're new to this, you may want to check your manual to know where the plugins go. It's very intimidating, but it's really easy. Oh, I'm gonna get so much hate. I hope it's not as bad as The Verge. So a lot of people say you want to ground yourself before doing this, but there was already a video on this that you need a lot of voltage to actually kill your computer, so touch the side of the case to discharge yourself, I guess. So the only tool that you really need is a Phillips head screwdriver, and a couple of zip ties will help for cable management. Installing the processor on the motherboard is the first and simple thing to do. Place the motherboard on top of the original box so you don't have any worries about damaging the board. Make sure the processor is aligned by identifying the triangle and corresponding to the motherboard socket. Mine's in the bottom left corner, so the bottom left corner of the socket. Simply place it and lock it into place. For the RAM, make sure it lines up with the DIMM slots. There is a notch so it only goes in one way. Pull back the retention clips on the side and just push it down until it clicks. Depending on your cooler, you might already have pre-applied thermal paste. Since mine did it, then I have to install it myself. All you have to do is make it as size as a grain of rice and then it should be good. So this was the first time I ever installed the aftermarket fan cooler. All I know is you screw it in on the corners and there you go. But if you check your manual, then you'll definitely know how to install it. Oh yeah, don't forget to plug the fan into the motherboard. It only goes in one way, so you don't have anything to mess up. Now we can put this in our case. Align the motherboard with the case, install the risers that correspond to the motherboard, and then screw it in the case. It may have been already installed like mine, but you might have to change it depending on your motherboard. The heart of the build, the power supply. Depending on your case, it may vary on the installation location, so either it's on the top or it's gonna be in the bottom. For me, it's the bottom. Always make sure that the fans are facing down and screw it in from the back, and if you can't, well, I got nothing for you. Route the cords to the hole of the sides for cable management. The hard drive is next. Just slide it through the drive bays and there you go. But for some people that have the M.2 slot SSD, you have to undo this heatsink and insert the SSD in the M.2 slot and screw it in. Make sure you remove the plastic. Now for the crazy part, plugging it in. Remember to use your manual. The 20 plus pin goes in right here and it goes in one way. It's a tight fit, but I got it. And the 4 plus pin goes up here. It's very cramped right here. Now for the front hub. The audio goes in where it says audio, or just look at the pin slots to identify where the audio connector is. Power switch, power button, power LED. Yes. It's located in the bottom right corner, and this is usually the tedious part of the build. Depending on your case, the colors mean positive and the white means negative. Wait. I don't have colors. So for me, according to the manual, an arrow is for positive. Just read the manuals to see where it goes. That wasn't so hard, but it was tedious. There could be a lot of fan plugs that are located around the motherboard. As an example, I'm going to use this rear fan. Just like the CPU cooler, it goes in one way. Now you need to plug in the USB. It can either be USB 2.0 or USB 3.0. Mine only has 3.0, so it's this big one right here. Of course it goes in one way, but be careful, it's kind of fragile. Last thing is the graphics card. See where the GPU lies, unscrew the back bars and place it into the long but mighty PCE slot. Then screw it in and put some power. Yep, it goes in one way. Let's see if it works. Ooh, pretty lights. In the end of the build, do some cable management so there is better airflow inside. You can route the wires in the other side of the case because it has plenty of space to hide this horror film. Of course, you need the peripherals like your mouse and keyboard to navigate through the computer and the monitor to display the computer. I mean, why wouldn't you have these stuff in the first place? What's the point of that? PC is built, it's turned on, let's install an operating system. You can install Windows or Mac OS on your computer. For Windows, you're gonna have to buy it or get it free somewhere on the internet. And for Mac OS, you'll definitely need another Mac device to download it. All in all, that's how you build a computer. Now, why do people build PCs? The obvious answer are the graphics, FPS, and resolution. If you can compare from a console to a PC, you'll definitely have more expandabilities with your components. You decide the graphics intensity, you can pick what kind of computer monitor you want or multiple of them, and you have a full functioning computer. While the game console only gets what you bought. You may have a high-end edition console like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, but they can only handle a limited amount of graphics and frame rates. Some games are not even displaying their full resolution, and a few games will have to reduce the resolution in order to process more frames. My opinion on this, it doesn't really matter if you're a console gamer or a PC gamer. At the end of the day, you are playing games and that's what really matters. I do recommend building your own PC because it's a really good experience. Even if you're a console gamer, assembly PC feels really satisfying and makes me want to build another one. All my parts are in there and it's powerful enough to handle my work. Since I'm gaming and also editing, I'm still using this MacBook right now. The big benefit to this is that the PC parts are upgradable whether you need a better processor, more storage, more RAM, or a beefier graphics card. That's nice to have because this is your personal computer, so you can do whatever you want to it. Plus, for the games you're playing or the software you're using, it is good for not only the games today, but for the games in the next 3 or more years. Do you have to buy all the parts at the same time? No. You can buy parts at separate times to save money. As an example, you can buy a processor today and buy the graphics card in the next month, or your next paycheck. The difference between a custom build and a pre-build is typically the price. Most of the time the pre-build will cost more due to it being made by an actual computer company. They gotta install their hardware and customer support to make it theirs. But if you want to buy a pre-build, then I guess.
Building a PC is a really fun thing to do. Putting them all together just feels like adult Legos.
You're probably thinking how good this PC performs. It's fine, don't worry about it.